That's right. Remember, when the housing bubble burst, out-of-state investors swooped in and scooped up thousands of foreclosed homes here in Ohio. Then credit dried up. Those investors needed a new way to make money. So they turned to a form of lending that can work, but as you're about to see, it's often predatory.
The house was gorgeous. It had like a Princess Palace window, and 4 windows, a tower window.
And LaWanna Williams' little girl loved its pastel colors.
My daughter used to walk by that house when we would go to the store, go to the place. She would say, "Mommy, I would love to live in that house."
When a bullet took Andrea's young life, LaWanna bought the home on Elgin Avenue.
So to me, it was like kind of having a piece of her. You know, that's what it was when I was able to accomplish.
But then she lost the house, too.
I felt like I deceived her, like I let her down once again. I couldn't save her life, and now I can't save the house she wanted.
LaWanna fell prey to a form of predatory lending.
In some way, it's the exact opposite of a regular mortgage.
Ben Fowler is a law professor at Case Western Reserve University and housing expert.
You see contracts in some ways reminiscent of what we saw during the height of the mortgage boom that are designed to fail.
Land contracts and rent-to-own leases, which are similar, are advertised as affordable ways to own homes. But those who sign them often end up worse off.
They try to sell the American dream.
Take Ernest Hayward.
But in reality, they're doing nothing but selling snake oil.
He signed a rent-to-own lease for a house in Cincinnati. It was filthy, and he soon learned he was on the hook for city fines over its condition. Then he discovered something even more troubling.
I feel totally disappointed, misleaded.
A fraction of his monthly payments went to the principal.
I feel like they're gangsters with the paperwork.
So it's kind of the worst of both worlds for the buyer.
Here's why. Like a homeowner, the buyer is responsible for property taxes and repairs. But like a renter, miss even a single payment, and you can be kicked out.
Seller can just take you to eviction court and evict you like a tenant, and you lose whatever you've put into it.
That's how LaWanna lost her home.
They just took it, like, okay, F it.
After falling behind on payments, she scraped together $10,000 to give to Harbor Portfolio Advisors, the company that owned her home. They evicted her anyway. You feel like you got robbed.
I know I got robbed. I think about that $10,000 every time I'm in a bind.
She's not alone. Since 2013, we found 10 eviction notices involving only 8 homes that the Dallas-based company owns in Cleveland. Another company, Vision Property Management, based in South Carolina, filed 21 eviction cases during the same time period.
I would say they're housing predators.
For years, Ian Beniston has watched the two companies operate the same way in Youngstown.
So they can get the most amount of money out of the least value properties by doing the least amount, right?
As the head of the Youngstown Neighborhood Development Corporation,
things like this just make it even more difficult for us to,
he says their properties often end up abandoned.
Dig ourselves out of it.
Taxpayers left to pick up the pieces.
The people that own this aren't coming to clean this up. It's going to be city government.
I think it's a problem that we can't look away from.
State Representative Michelle Lepore-Hagan was so concerned, she drafted legislation to force companies peddling land contracts to fix up their homes and have them appraised before they can be sold.
We want to close the loopholes. We want to close the loopholes that people are able to manipulate.
In the meantime, the city of Cincinnati sued Harbor and Vision. Both companies settled. Wisconsin's Attorney General is also suing Vision, and so is a nonprofit legal group on behalf of Youngstown residents. We reached out to Vision.
We'd like to speak with you.
They had no comment.
About your rent-to-own leases?
Harbor Portfolio, which closed its doors earlier this year, said eviction was a last resort, and they would work with consumers that had fallen on hard times.
They ought to be made to fix these houses up that they're giving people, lying to people about, and let them stay there.
After she was evicted, LaWanna had nowhere to go. A church stepped in and housed her family for a year. Her daughter's dream house was demolished.
It was good. I loved my neighbors. It was real good until they put me out.
So far, state leaders have failed to stop the predatory practices. Lepore-Hagan's proposed law, which she introduced last year, has been stuck in committee in Ohio's heavily Republican legislature. But the Democrat remains optimistic. She says a Republican lawmaker is now on board, and they will reintroduce her bill in January. I'm 5 on Your Side investigator Sarah Buttison.